Welcome back, everyone. In part uno, we dove deep into the tragic story of Taka, the lion who would become Scar, and explored the complex family dynamics that shaped his destiny. We left off with the aftermath of the buffalo stampede, a pivotal moment that didn't just injure Taka physically, but also scarred him for life emotionally. Today, in part two, he's a product of his environment, a tragic figure shaped by neglect, jealousy, and one catastrophic mistake. He's a product of his environment, a tragic figure shaped by neglect, jealousy, and one catastrophic mistake. Mufasa gets to keep his kingly name, a name that means king. Taka gets a name that signifies damage. And Taka, in a moment of arrogance, is attacked, receiving the wound that will give him the infamous name, Scar. King Ahadi arrives, saves his sons, but his reaction is what truly seals Taka's fate. He's not just disappointed, he's furious. And in that moment of anger, he renames his son. He doesn't call him Taka anymore. He calls him Scar. Think about the weight of that. A name is your identity. Taka, which means want or desire in Swahili, might have hinted at his ambition, but it was his own. Scar is a permanent reminder of his failure, his shame, and his father's disapproval. It's a brand, a label that says, you are a mistake. Every time someone calls him Scar, he's reminded of that humiliating day. Mufasa gets to keep his kingly name, a name that means king. Taka gets a name that signifies damage. This was the first, and perhaps most painful, thing Mufasa inadvertently helped take from him: his identity. Now let's talk about the roar of the elders. This is a huge piece of the puzzle. In the Lion Guard, we learned that the second-born of the king is traditionally the leader of the Lion Guard and is blessed with the roar of the elders. This isn't just a loud shout, it's a mystical power. The great kings of the past literally roar with you, a force of nature that can move mountains and command the elements. Before the incident, this power belonged to Taka. It was his birthright, his unique and powerful role in the kingdom. It was the one thing that made him special, separate from his brother, the future king. But what happened after he got his scar? Taka, now filled with bitterness and rage, uses the roar for evil. He commands his Lion Guard to help him overthrow Mufasa. When they refuse, seeing it as a betrayal of their duty, Scar turns the roar on them, destroying his own team in a fit of rage. By using the roar for evil, the spirits of the past kings take it away from him. He loses this incredible power forever. So, while Mufasa didn't physically take the roar, the entire situation, the rivalry, the failed plot, the resulting bitterness led directly to Scar losing it. It was his one claim to a unique power, and it vanished, leaving him with nothing but his intellect and his resentment. This leads us to the third and most crucial power that was taken: hope. Before the stampede, Taka, for all his flaws, had hope. He hoped he could prove himself to his father. He hoped he could earn respect. He hoped he could find his own place of importance in the Pride Lands. He believed that with a clever enough plan, he could change his destiny. The disastrous outcome of his scheme crushed that hope entirely. He tried his best, in his own twisted way, to gain power and recognition. And the result was public humiliation, a disfiguring scar, a name change that mocked him, and the loss of his sacred duty. From that day forward, the hope in Taka died, and Scar was truly born. He no longer believed he could earn his place through merit or bravery. The system, in his eyes, was rigged. His father favored Mufasa. The pride favored Mufasa. Even fate seemed to favor Mufasa. His only path to power was no longer through earning it, but through seizing it by any means necessary. The goodness and ambition that Taka once had curdled into pure, calculating villainy. Mufasa's very existence, his effortless grace and kingly bearing, became a constant, burning reminder of everything Scar had lost and could never be. So, when we watch The Lion King and see Scar orchestrating Mufasa's death, it's not just about wanting the throne. Mufasa gets to keep his kingly name, a name that means king. Taka gets a name that signifies damage. This was the first, and perhaps most painful, He's not just killing his brother, he's trying to kill the memory of his own failure. He's trying to erase the ghost of the Golden Prince who, just by being himself, took everything that mattered from the younger brother left in the shadows. This deep-seated psychological wound is what makes Scar such a compelling villain. He isn't just evil for the sake of being evil. He's a product of his environment, a tragic figure shaped by neglect, jealousy, and one catastrophic mistake. The power Mufasa took from him wasn't just the crown, it was Taka's very soul. He took away the lion he could have been and left behind the monster he was forced to become. It's a dark and tragic tale, showing that the specific power, a special gift that Mufasa unknowingly took from his younger brother, whose name wasn't always Scar. Let's rewind the clock. Before he was the villain we love to hate, Scar was known as Taka. In the extended universe of The Lion King, specifically in a book series called The Lion King, 6 New Adventures, we learn that Taka means dirt or waste in Swahili. Right from the start, his name sets him up for a lifetime of feeling second best, compared to Mufasa, whose name means king. Imagine growing up with a name like that while your brother is literally named king. The seeds of resentment were planted early, but the real turning point, the moment that arguably sealed their fate, wasn't just about names or who would be king. This power was the roar of the elders. Now, if you're a fan of the Lion Guard, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not just a loud roar. It's the collective strength and wisdom of all the great kings of the past, channeled through one lion, and even move mountains. It's the ultimate tool for defending the Pride Lands and upholding the circle of life, tasked with protecting the kingdom. So, who was the second born of King Aha? That's right, it was Taka. Taka was the original leader of the Lion Guard. He was gifted with the roar of the elders. For a time, he had a purpose, a role that was just as important as Mufasa's future as king. He wasn't just the spare. He was the protector, to step out of his brother's shadow. This strange lion convinced Taka that to truly earn Mufasa's respect, he whispered ideas of a coup, blinded by ambition and paranoia. Taka agreed. Furious at their betrayal, Taka did the unthinkable. He used the sacred power, meant for protection, for destruction. He destroyed the very lions who had sworn to follow him. Using the roar for evil is a violation of its one and only rule. As a consequence, they stripped the power from Taka. It was a cosmic balancing of the scales. A power so great could not be wielded by a heart so full of darkness. And how did Taka get his infamous scar? He received the wound that would define him. From that day on, he insisted on being called Scar, a permanent, physical reminder of his failure, his loss, and his hatred for his brother. Now, think about this from Mufasa's perspective. He didn't actively take the roar from Scar. He didn't scheme to get it, but Scar's own actions, driven by his jealousy toward Mufasa, led to him losing it. In Scar's twisted mind, Mufasa was the cause of all his problems. If Mufasa hadn't been the firstborn, if Mufasa wasn't destined to be king, Scar would never have felt the need to prove himself. He would have never listened to the strange lion, and he would have never lost his power. So, while Mufasa didn't literally steal the roar, his very existence was the catalyst for Scar losing it. This adds an incredible layer of tragedy to their relationship. Mufasa might have looked at his brother with a mix of pity and fear, knowing what he was capable of and what he had lost. And Scar looked at Mufasa and saw not a brother, but a living symbol of his own downfall. This loss of power explains so much about Scar's character in The Lion King. Why is he so obsessed with power? Because he once held the ultimate power and lost it. Why does he rely on manipulation and scheming instead of physical strength? Because his greatest weapon was taken from him. He tries to reclaim that feeling of power by controlling the hyenas, by taking the throne, by trying to manipulate Simba. But none of it can ever compare to the cosmic force he once commanded. His iconic line, "I'm surrounded by idiots," takes on a new meaning. He once led the Pride Land's best and brightest in the Lion Guard. Now, his minions are a pack of bumbling hyenas. It's a bitter downgrade. His constant sarcasm and nihilistic worldview are the defense mechanisms of a lion who once had it all and threw it away in a single, terrible act of rage. And what about He becomes king, a wise and just ruler. But there's a shadow in his kingdom, his own brother. The loss of the lion guard and the roar left the pride lands vulnerable. Mufasa had to rule without that key defensive unit. This might explain why he was so strict with Simba about the dangers beyond the pride lands. He was acutely aware of the threats that existed without the guard to keep them in check. The story doesn't end there. The roar of the elders doesn't return until Kion, Simba's secondborn, discovers it. The power skipped a generation. It bypassed Simba, the king, and went straight to his son, the new leader of the Lion Guard. The natural order was restored. Kion had to learn to control the roar, to use it for good, and to not make the same mistakes as Gretuncle Scar did. In a way, Kion's journey is a redemption of the power that Scar corrupted. He proves that the roar is a tool for heroism, not villainy. So, did Mufasa take a power from Scar? Not directly, but in the grand, tragic opera of their lives, Mufasa's destiny was intrinsically linked to Scar's loss. It wasn't a theft, it was a consequence. Scar's fall from grace wasn't just about wanting to be king. It was about losing a part of himself, a sacred power that defined him, all because he couldn't overcome the shadow cast by his brother. This lost piece of lore transforms their classic sibling rivalry into a much deeper, more complex story of power, loss, and the choices that define us. It makes you watch the movie in a whole new light, doesn't it? Every sneer from Scar, every weary sigh from Mufasa is loaded with this hidden history. The tragedy of Mufasa's death is deepened, and Scar's villainy becomes even more profound, rooted in a personal loss that festered into an all-consuming evil. What do you guys think? Does this backstory change how you see Scar and Mufasa's relationship? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about the Roar of the Elders and its impact on the story. Thanks so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.